My name is David Carroll, and today I'm going to be discussing artificial intelligence. Now, much has been written and said about artificial intelligence, particularly in the last year, following the launch of ChatGPT. Today, I'd like to share some thoughts as to how AI has the potential to change the tax and accounting landscape. Before I cover that, I'll start with a brief introduction and discuss why AI is dominating so much of the tech discourse today. Again, my name is David Carroll. I'm a solutions consultant here at Thomson Reuters. A little bit of background: from the moment I first learned of the World Wide Web back in elementary school in the early 90s, I've always been deeply fascinated with technology. To me, it seemed like magic. I can vividly remember my science teacher drawing a network of computers on the chalkboard and talking about how each computer would be able to communicate with one another. My teacher then assigned us pen pals from Mexico, which I found really amazing. I can learn what it was like to be a third grader in another country in real time. Now, that all seems fairly quaint compared to what we can do now, but I couldn't stop imagining the possibilities that new technology might unlock. That curiosity and fascination has followed me my entire life. That's why I was really excited to be given the opportunity to talk about artificial intelligence with you all today. But before diving too deep into the subject material, I'd like to discuss how we got here. Now, throughout history, there have been several examples of innovations that have fundamentally transformed society. In my own lifetime, I've seen the personal computer revolution, the internet explosion, wide-scale adoption of mobile, the proliferation of social media companies, as well as cloud computing. And the next major platform shift that we're seeing today is obviously with AI, machine learning, and large language models. Now, according to Crunchbase, over a quarter of the total investments in the US-based startups this year has gone towards AI companies, more than double the percentage of the prior year. This is equivalent to $1 in every $4 being invested in US startups in 2023. So no wonder every company building a new technology has AI emblazoned everywhere in their pitch decks. Comparatively, between 2018 and 2022, AI startups received an average of 12% of the funding capital. And for a few highlights, funding for AI startups surpassed $23 billion in 2023. And I suspect many of these investments had generative AI laced in the solutions, whereas non-AI funding reached over $67 billion. This marks a significant change compared to 2021, when AI-related funding amounted to $42 billion versus $293 billion for non-AI funding. And this is important because despite a 50% decline in North American VC funding in Q1 of 2023, the AI sector has created a growth frenzy, impacting many other areas. Now, one thing that's worth noting is the adoption rate of new technology. It's not linear, but rather exponential. Take a look at how long it took for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users. It took roughly 2 months for ChatGPT to reach that milestone, compared to over a decade for Spotify, or even 5 years for Facebook and Twitter. Now, I've come across a few skeptical folks that believe that AI is all sizzle and no steak, that it's a bubble and nothing more than a glorified search engine. I'll give you a few examples of why I believe that thinking to be wrong, that AI is so much more than just being served 10 blue links. With modern AI tools, you can ask ChatGPT to write a limerick about a monkey who vapes, or prompt DALL-E to generate an image of a chair that looks like an avocado. Okay, that's definitely amusing, but is that really going to change the world? Probably not. Let's consider a few more examples. What if you could write an idea for a website on a napkin, take a photo and upload it to ChatGPT, and then ask it to create the code for said website? Now that's kind of interesting. On the topic of coding, it's being reported that over 40% of code submitted to GitHub, a cloud-based platform service for programmers to store and manage code, is AI generated, and that over 90% of programmers are using AI tools. As AI tools become more sophisticated, there's a lot of anxiety about job destruction. Will AI tools displace truck drivers or factory workers? In a recent interview, Sam Altman, founder of OpenAI, had some interesting insights. He mentions that 10 years ago, he would have assumed that blue-collar workers would be displaced first. Then entry-level white-collar workers would be next, and then creative workers would be last. He goes on to say that what he's actually seeing is the total opposite, that cognitive tasks, creative output, and coding is in fact performed by AI now. Interesting. So should I be concerned about losing my job? Was this presentation you're listening to created by an AI robot? Are we actually living in a simulation? To be honest, I'm not sure, but I do find comfort in Marc Andreessen's thoughts on the subject. Marc is an engineer and venture capitalist firm partner and an eternal technology optimist. And in a blog post entitled, "Why AI Will Save the World," Marc writes, "The core mistake the automation kills jobs doomers keep making is called the lump of labor fallacy. This fallacy is the incorrect notion that there is a fixed amount of labor to be done in the economy at any given time, and either machines do it or people do it. And if machines do it, there'll be no work for people to do. The lump of labor fallacy flows naturally from the naive intuition, but naive intuition here is wrong. When technology is applied to production, we get productivity growth, an increase in output generated by a reduction in inputs. The result is lower prices for goods and services. As prices for goods and services fall, we pay less for them, meaning that we now have extra spending power with which to buy other things. This creates demand in the economy, which drives the creation of new production, including new products and new industries, which then creates new jobs for people who were replaced by machines in prior jobs. The result is a larger economy with higher material prosperity, more industries, more products, and more jobs. The fear of job loss due to mechanization, automation, computerization, or AI has been a recurring panic for hundreds of years. Since the original onset of machinery, such as the mechanical loom, even though every new major technology has led to more jobs at higher wages throughout history, each wave of this panic is accompanied by claims that this time is different. This is the time it will finally happen. This is the technology that will finally deliver the hammer blow to human labor, and yet it never happens. We've been through two such technology-driven unemployment panic cycles in our recent past. The outsourcing panic of the 2000s and the automation panic of the 2010s. And notwithstanding many talking heads, pundits, and even tech industry executives pounding the table throughout both decades that mass unemployment was near, by late 2019, right before the onset of COVID, the world had more jobs at higher wages than ever in history. Okay, this is a pretty optimistic picture. Instead of doing our jobs, perhaps they'll help us do our tasks. Rather than robots replacing us, perhaps they'll augment us. Would be analogous to everybody wearing an Iron Man suit. But what does this not so distant future look like for the tax and accounting professional? It's my opinion that this nascent technology will unlock some big opportunities for those that embrace AI tools. Consider, what would it mean for your firm if repetitive tasks, data entry, and compliance work was largely automated? Would you be out of a job? If you only provide services that are commoditized, then maybe, but in all likelihood, this would give you a massive bandwidth to focus on high-value advisory and consulting services. Furthermore, AI-driven advisory services equip CPAs with powerful algorithms and predictive analytics, which enable them to gain meaningful insights into customer behavior and create strategies tailored to each client's individual needs. One of the significant advantages of AI is its ability to identify patterns in large data sets in a way that no human possibly could. This is one of the key reasons why AI plays an important role in audit. In audit, AI enables auditors to analyze large data sets and swiftly identify anomalies and patterns. This means auditors can shift away from sampling in favor of reviewing all of a client's transactions in real time. This results in improved outcomes as auditors can better identify risky transactions and deliver higher quality audits to clients. AI also plays a significant role in tax research. Tax research can be challenging because there's simply too much information from too many sources. Sifting through the countless online resources for answers is not only time-consuming and highly inefficient, but also leads to greater risk of errors and misinterpretations. Last year, Google demoed an autonomous AI assistant. And in the demo, a person calls a restaurant, and a human-sounding agent takes the call. The customer asks a few questions, and then books a reservation with the AI assistant without knowing it wasn't a real human being on the phone. Pretty impressive. Now imagine having an AI assistant clone your voice. One of your clients calls the assistant and asks for an analysis of the year-end financial statements. The AI assistant provides a summary and answers some follow-up questions, all while you're taking a nap. Sounds pretty crazy, but that could be where we're headed. The future is going to be pretty interesting. Now, we're clearly not there just yet, but I think we might arrive at that point sooner than we might imagine, especially given the speed at which these tools are evolving. Again, will this new technology replace you, or will it augment you? Consider that when tax and accounting software first arrived on the scene, the job of a tax and accounting professional changed in a significant way. But instead of representing the demise of the profession, the field actually expanded by 75% over the course of the following decade. Okay, sounds good, but what happens if a cash-strapped startup uses an AI bookkeeper to save some money instead of hiring you? Well, that tool may serve them very well at the beginning, help them scale their business to the point where that startup will need a virtual CFO who can provide proactive advisory services. And this is where you can shine and step in to help, charging a premium price in exchange for your premium services. And so instead of doing tedious data entry work, you can now focus on analysis, advisory, and strategic decision-making. Like many technological changes in the past, AI will likely present a golden opportunity to firm owners who are bold enough to take the bull by the horns. So, what can you do to take advantage of AI? I would start by being curious and open-minded. Take time to study these new tools and applications as they become available. Understand how to work with data. And most importantly, focus on the human element. Hone your communication skills. This means interpreting complex data into easily digestible insights that you can provide to your customers. Okay, now there's undoubtedly been a ton of hype surrounding artificial intelligence. And I can imagine that this hype may fade at some point. This reminds me of Amara's law. We tend to overestimate the impact of a new technology in the short run, but we underestimate it in the long run. This means we'll likely to continue to hear a lot of the promises that AI might bring, but we might have to be slightly patient as those promises manifest themselves into tools that we can use today. I'll use an example to illustrate my point. In the early days, there was a lot of hype and excitement about the internet, how the internet would create a cyberspace where every computer in the world would be connected for ever-changing society. Then, the turn of the millennium, we were greeted with the dot-com crash. This inspired Nobel Prize winner Paul Krugman to write that, quote, by 2005 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machine. He went on to write that as the rate of technological change in computing slows, the number of jobs for IT specialists will deaccelerate, then actually turn down. 10 years from now, the phrase information economy will sound silly. Whoops. Well, the major difference between the internet and AI, in my opinion, will be the speed of progress. We've already discussed how fast ChatGPT exploded on the scene, and I expect that we won't have to wait years until we can leverage this technology to change the way that we do business. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I want to thank you so much for your participation and enjoy the rest of what Synergy 2023 has to offer. My name is David Carroll. Take care.